Hey guys, today on Guitar Basics we're going to learn about power chords and octaves, okay? First we'll go into octaves because there's a little something I have to explain about octaves, and then we'll go into how to play an octave, and then move into how to play a power chord. Okay, first, an octave is exactly 12 notes above any note. So if we have a big E, an open E string with nothing pressed down, the octave of that string would be 12 frets above, so on the 12th fret. Or on the A string, an open A, the octave again would be on the 12th, sorry. Or if we wanted to find the octave of a C note, which is on the 3rd fret on the A string, we'd go 12 frets up. So it's going to be on the 15th fret of the A string. Do you hear the similarities to them? They sound exactly the same because of the exact same note on the same string, but one octave higher. Okay? Now to actually play an octave, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to show you how to do this, because you can play an octave which is almost like a power chord, which we're going to go into afterwards. Now take a look at this. Okay, now that we're zoomed in a little bit, again, just so I show you again, if we were going to do an octave on the big E string, for an open E, the octave would again be on the 12th fret, 12 frets up. Or if we were going to do an octave from the G note on the big E string, which is on the 3rd fret, it would be on the 15th fret, up here on the big E. Now, to play an octave chord, say we wanted to play that G octave. So there's a way that you can hit this big E string on the 3rd fret, which is your G note, and also hit this fret down here, the 15th fret, on the big E as well, on the 15th fret. So if you count 4 frets on the next string down, you can get the same note. So our G note on the big E string on the 15th fret, we can find it on the A string if we go down 4 frets. 4 frets in between. So on the A string on the 10th fret, we have the octave for the G chord. All the same notes, right? All the same. Okay. So now that we found that on the 10th fret, on the A string, if we go down to the D string and count 4 more, the very next one is going to be that same note. All the same. So it's going to be on the 5th fret of the D string is our octave. So if we use our first finger to go onto our first note, our G note, on the 3rd fret on the big E, that's our root note. Now we can either use our third finger or our 4th finger to go onto that octave note, which is 2 frets down and 2 strings down, or 2 strings up if you were talking about a low tone and a high tone. So it should sound like this, and we want to try not to play the chord in between, the note in between, which is the A string. So if we play it like this, our first finger kind of sits on top of the A, but we don't press it down. And that G octave would sound like this. Now if we move it down to a G flat, or we can move it around a little bit. I'm going to use my 4th finger now because that's how I feel comfortable playing them. Now I'm going to zoom in again so you can see exactly how I'm playing these. Okay, again, so here is our G note on the big E on the 3rd fret. Our octave for that G is down here on the 5th fret of the D string. So if we use finger number 1 to hit the G note, mute out this A string, and then I'm going to use finger number 4 because that's how I'm comfortable playing it, and I always put my fingers up like this. but I'll try and keep them out of the way so you can see how I'm playing. It should sound like this. And we're only hitting those 2 strings. My finger number 1 is kind of touching all the strings, but I'm not pressing down. So it would sound like this. So I'm not really hitting anything. So again down here. Now if we want to move up onto the A string, it'll be the exact same thing. 2 strings down, or 2 strings up, and 2 frets up. So like so. Okay, now that's how you play octaves. Remember, an octave for any note is always 12 notes above that note. Okay, now we're going to move into power chords, guys. Okay, power chords are completely similar to octaves, except instead of having to go 2 strings up, like we were saying, you just have to go 1. So if we wanted to play a G power chord, so the G note, 3rd fret on the E string, and then we take our 4th finger or 3rd finger, however you prefer, and it would go 2 down, or up I should say, on the next string. So we would get this. So a G power chord is a G and a D note, which is going to be here on our 5th fret of the A string, played together. So it should sound like this, and we only hit those 2 strings. If we want to do a D flat, we move up. And I'll use my 3rd finger just so you can see a little easier. There's an F. Now for open power chords, if we wanted to do an open E power chord, we just hold the 2nd fret on the next string down, and we hit the top and the 2nd string, so the big E and the A string. That's our open E power chord. Now again, if we wanted to do an open A power chord, we're going to move down. And we're only going to hit the A, this one here, the A, and the D string. Like so. Now let's move down one more time to an open D power chord, which will rarely be played. If you ever see a D power chord played, it's usually played up here on the 5th fret on the A string. See, same power chord. Okay? Now, the exception is if when we come down to the G string, our power chord for the open power chord is no longer played on the 2nd fret because of the way a guitar is tuned standard-wise. See how that doesn't sound right? We actually have to move up to the 3rd fret. And that's an open G power chord. Now when we move down to the high E string, we go back to normal to the 2nd fret. Okay? Now every time I play one of these chords, I'm only hitting 2 strings. That's what a power chord is. Alright, that's power chords. And octaves. Thanks for watching, guys, and good luck.